phone. So why can't you give them internet too? Why is AT&T allowed to do that? Why is the city of Cleveland allowing that to happen? Okay, I'm gonna shut up.
No, you bring up a good point. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
You bring up a good point because two observations. I work for the city, and I work in recreation, and I see how on the west side and in these other neighborhoods, Shaker Heights, they have these really, really nice rec centers. I work at Lonnie Burton. Have y'all been down to Lonnie Burton? Do you know what it looks like? Do you know what its pool looks like? But then you go over to Westlake and all those places that were in the green. And even though there's still the city of Cleveland, even Cadell Fine Arts, right over here in front of the 89th Street Rapid Station. You look at their pool and their pool deck, it's beautiful. Their building is clean, but then you go to the same looking rec on the east side. Their pool might be clean, but they don't have the bells and whistles. They don't have the spray basin and the new benches. And for the longest time, I've tried to understand why. But it stems from that history, and it goes farther than that. The city sees that when they do stuff in areas where people are impoverished, trying to give them something better, what happens to the city property? It gets vandalized, it gets torn up. So they have it in their mind that Black people ain't gonna take care of the good stuff that is given to them, so why give it to them at all? Which is a horrible state of mind. Because I know me, if you give me something nice, I'm gonna take care of it. I'm gonna take real good care of it because I want to keep it. And I wanted to I'm gonna take good care of my house, and I'm not gonna leave broken windows. I'm not gonna let my porch cave in. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna take care of my property. I'm gonna make sure that my grass is cut so I don't have rodents and rats and stuff like that. But that, as a Black person, that's me. Because that's not about just being Black. It's about being a human and wanting better. But they don't believe we want better.
I want to interject something right now. And I believe that it's about
entrance. We ain't getting in anyway. Oh, I'm in. Blair, here, we're in. I can't hear. I can't hear it. Why is it on record? I don't hear anything. What happened? I don't have any sound. Down. Can you hear me? You can. Because we too close. Join breakout room. Join the breakout room.
We needed him because he's in between us that are in our 50s and the other ones that are in their 20s. He was like he was in the perfect place to be a catalyst for this new agenda that we need.
It's unfortunate that the statistics and the numbers was probably tell, or the naysayers will say once you reach a certain established lifestyle, it's better you move away from your hood. And I think that is what has plagued our people in our community for far too often. So get some education. If you notice the presentation we just saw, the big that you noticed there was the education level in one area opposed to the other. The resources, see education, and I don't want to harp on that so much, but it garners resources and it garners opportunities when you put yourself in that, and that's what we stressed that about education with John Hay and other schools that we have in Cleveland that is prospering, because it helps you elevate to a different level. But I think one of the problems we're having too is when we get the education, like Nipsey Hussle, I was just saying, is unfortunate. Sometimes we may have to vacate the areas that we came up in. And I don't want to do that. And I don't think that we will rise as a race of people if we do that. I just posted on my social media site this weekend. I had a huge meeting between the Jews and African Americans, reconnecting. And I'm not bringing race so much into the faction, but they're sort of already wrote the blueprint if you try to go up in University Heights and think you're going to easily open a business. And even if you do open it, you're going to have to pull and beg to get patronage or support from that community. And I'm not knocking the Jewish people when I say that. I am saying they're staying unified no matter what. They always remind their kids, and it starts at the bottom with their education and their school systems. They're not going to predicate on what the state wants so much. They're teaching their kids to never forget what almost transpired with them.
So Chris, I don't mean to interrupt you, but with that being said, you're bringing up a lot of issues, and I think
I'm sorry.
No, you're good, but all of you are. But part of what I think there's two things. I think the first thing is, as we unpack some of these issues and ideas, part of what I'm hearing you all say is that there's sort of like a model that is not the model that we are seeing in Hough, and that we're not seeing in a lot of communities on the East Side in particular that are predominantly Black and brown folk. So the question for you is, we know where Little Italy is.
Mm-hmm.
We know where Little Arabia is. We know where all of these we know where Chinatown is.
Mm-hmm.
The question for you is, what does Black Avenue look like? This is part of the question that we are hoping to answer today. What does a Black Avenue look like in terms of education, in terms of sort of a 21st century infrastructure so that internet is not as poor? So part of what I'm hoping that we've been able to do is think about redlining and think about the ways in which so much disinvestment has happened, and what do we need to create a true Black Avenue and attract businesses so that reinvestment is there, so that we can begin the process of reinvestment in the neighborhood.
That is a good question. If anybody else want to take on that? Because I
feel like it starts with our youth. Like, we need more centers with like-minded people who are going to explain to our youth as to how we want them to grow up and how we want them to be portrayed to other people outside of our race. Because at the end of the day, that's where it really started, our kids. Because if we're not raising our kids how they supposed to grow up and be, contributing to our society, they're not going to know. So they're going to grow up and do whatever they want to do. And 9 times out of 10, it's going to be what they see somebody else doing, vandalizing property, not caring about their neighborhood, throwing trash everywhere, not caring. It's going to continue to be a cycle. And it's not going to get broken until we break it ourselves. And I feel like the only way we can do that is have more rec centers, more, like right now, all of our kids are being homeschooled right now. This is the perfect time for all of us to step in and really get into the youth. this is the perfect time for us to step in and get back into the youth and make sure that they out here doing exactly what they need to be doing so they can be better people in this world, so that we can stop getting looked down on, so everybody can stop, oh, that's the black neighborhood, we don't want to go over there because they gonna shoot us, or, you know.
Well,
This is the perfect time for that because all of our kids are at home now.
Well, Dominique, I'm glad that you said that, because now that we've talked about some of the things that we need in the neighborhood, and I think I heard rec center, I heard more opportunities for youth. Now we can go to our next video.
Wait, but I want to answer what you asked earlier also. I just don't want to take up all the time, if you don't mind.
I want to ask you, Chris,
Uh-huh.
that question is going to hold for the rest of the evening. Can we watch this video and can you hold that answer? And what's going to happen is we're going to be able to add even more to the conversation after we watch this. I promise that. And we're running a little short on time. We're 6:30, and this next one is about 15 minutes, and then we'll be able to talk a little bit more. But I want to get to this next video, which is about zoning, which will also put us on the same page. So I'm going to go ahead and share that screen. I'm going to invite everybody to mute once again, if you're not already. And then this is our video about zoning, and this is being led by Director Freddie Collier. So here we go.
Quality of life. So when you look at the image on the screen, you see that woman who's walking on that road. Who can tell me where you think she's at? What state? What region of the country?
I'm not gonna say nothing because I already know.
Okay. Who else?
Sorry about that, you all. You might not like me going into full screen mode. Let me come out of it for a second and try again. Uh-oh. Give me one moment here, too. Yeah, it may not like me going into full screen. Let's try one more time. Okay.
Quality of life. So when you look at the image on the screen, you see that woman who's walking on that road. Who can tell me where you think she's at? What state? What region of the country?
I'm not gonna say nothing because I already know.
Okay. Who else? Think again.
Cleveland.
What is that?
Cleveland.
It's Cleveland.
Yeah.
Now, when I first took a look at this photograph, you would think she is somewhere in rural Alabama somewhere, okay? But she is actually in Cleveland, Ohio. And she lives in a neighborhood that's in the Lower Kansas area, in an area that was formerly known as the Forgotten Triangle. And when you look at the other picture, what do you think that is?
On the west side somewhere.
The west side.
Is also Cleveland. So here you have two very different set of circumstances, right? And it's visually evident. This is an example. This is an example of how opportunity is distributed. And everyone should have access to the opportunities that they need to lead a healthy life, right? But we know that these inequities exist. And part of the work that we have to do is account for that. So I'm going to show you through land use how we account for that as development and planning professionals. So here's a map. And one of the things that this map shows is streets, roads, railroads, and notice that it's blank, right? Because this woman is starting with a blank slate, and we're trying to restore value to her life by utilizing our land. So I talked about neighborhoods, right? And neighborhoods, in order to produce a healthy quality of life, have to have places to live. So we have to have adequate quality housing in neighborhoods of various types and price points that services the needs of the people who live there. So you have expensive homes, you have condos, you have public housing, you have single family homes like this. And then what we do is we start to identify areas in that neighborhood, as you can see on these maps, that show where those homes can go in that community. So you see single family and multifamily homes here represented by the colors on the map. The brown.
We can't see the maps.
You
We
can't
also
see them?
know that it's critical for people
Nope.
that have access to retail and goods and services. You gotta eat, right? You gotta shop, right? So we also have to understand where we can provide places to shop, whether small scale or large scale. So having retail is essential. Now this may seem basic, but the fact is it's not basic because everybody doesn't have access to these opportunities. So then you start to look at where can retail go? So you can see the red represents retail and the pink represents commercial services, right? So you add that to your housing and you also add that retail. Also, we have to provide places for people to work. So when we think about neighborhoods, we have to think about diverse places for people to be able to work, whether it's at a neighborhood institution or retail store, whether it's a larger scale institution in the neighborhood, but organizing the neighborhood in such a way where people can live, they can shop, and they could work, right? But in order to make those investments, you need land. The other components of building quality of life is learning and worship. So where are institutions located in the neighborhood and how do they service the people in that community to build quality of life, right? So our churches, our mosques, things of that nature, because that is very important for the social fabric of the community. So when you look at the green, you start to see the institutions being added to that map. Then of course there's playing, right? Recreational centers, actually bars and restaurants as well, also considered recreation to a degree, right? So where are those open space opportunities for families and kids and people to play? And also where are those entertainment venues? So part of the work that we have to do is begin to build back communities and neighborhoods in areas of the city where those opportunities were not afforded. So you can see how that map went from being blank to being filled up. And this illustrates the intentionality that has to occur from a planning perspective to provide those resources for people. And lastly, we want to make sure that these neighborhoods are sustainable, right? So even though we have all of those investments, there are amenities that kind of is the icing on the cake that makes the neighborhood stronger. And these are just a few that you see on the screen. You guys still with me? The other component is making sure that the neighborhoods are walkable, right? That people can walk from their house and in a 5-minute walking distance have access to those amenities. This is important because it has a number of implications. It's easier on the environment when you don't have to get in a car and turn a key to get to where you need to go on a day-to-day basis. It's healthier because you're able to walk. So all of those components goes into creating quality neighborhoods and creating opportunities for people. Now, how do you get there? So the planning department in the public sector is responsible for 4 sort of key areas. 1, engagement, understanding the community's needs. 2, planning, which is the process of doing the research and analysis to help communities envision their plans. Advocacy, where we have to advocate internally and externally to get and policies changed in order to support what will help a community become healthier and more sustainable. But most importantly, regulation. We have to police investments because investors, developers, and others are not going to do this on their own. You have to make sure that they do it. So this is where zoning comes into play. Are you guys following me?
Yes.
Couple examples I want to give you guys. So this aerial shows a very suburban sort of area where you have a plaza, right? And you also have these houses that are on roundabouts, you know, and then you have this huge sea of parking. That's a lot of parking. And what this type of facility does, is that it promotes people getting into their car, driving to it, doing business, and driving away. Right? So most people, when they bought homes in the suburbs, they wanted a nice, neat area with people who look like them in homes that look like theirs. And they thought that this was a good growth model. And really, this is what you got. What you have is a lot of commercial establishments on main corridors in a very car-centric environment. But let me ask you guys this. Would you prefer this, or would you prefer this? That's a question.
We can't see the other this.
That second one looked really inviting.
It's this one.
Which one? This one?
I say the second one.
Look really
This one right here?
Say,
Yeah.
come on, sit down.
I say the second one.
Yes, most people want this type of environment, right?
Yes.
Not this. Right? Because in this environment, you're not interacting. You're isolated in your car. There's no socialization. You know, if you're walking down the street here, your chances of getting hit by a car are tremendous. Right? And it's bad on the environment. Not to mention, it's incredibly ugly with all of the signs. And it's all corporate chains, right? So you got McDonald's, Taco Bell, but here you have neighborhood level amenities, right? People can sit, they can walk, they can feel comfortable. And look how the buildings are organized, right? So in order to achieve that, we have to regulate it. Let me give you another example. So in the top screen here, if you're from Cleveland, you're probably familiar with these areas. This is Clark Avenue, okay? Up top, above the line. Below the line is Lorraine, okay? Now what I want you to focus on is the street of Clark Avenue, so you guys can see my little white arrow, right? What do you notice about Clark Avenue that's different from Lorraine Avenue? That's a question.
It's more space.
On Clark, everything, well, I noticed on like Lorraine, the buildings are more together, and on Clark, they're more spaced out.
Yep. Yep. What else do you notice?
The trees. They have more trees.
KFC, McDonald's. I noticed I don't know what that sign says. Shoot. I noticed a lot of drive in, drive out, drive in, drive out.
That's right. That's right. That's right. So what you're seeing there, you guys are right, spot on. On Clark, you see an environment that caters to the automobile. You see a lot of corporate chains, because corporate chains like it when you just drive through and go. They don't care about building community. They just want you to buy their product, right? But if you look at the bottom and you see Lorraine, to the young lady's point, buildings are close together, right on the sidewalk. So you can walk from place to place to place to place without ever having to really confront a car unless you're getting in it because it's parked on the street. Now, what that is it shows a maturation from how things were in the early 70s, where things were more auto-centric. So you remember when they started building all the plazas in the neighborhood? You know, so everybody got a plaza and they had a sea of parking in front of it and then all the stores in a row. Well, we're moving away from that to contemporary urban to more traditional urban, where you see buildings on the street, a lot of glass on the storefronts, where you can walk, where you have balconies, where it feels more communal, right? These are the things that it takes to make sustainable neighborhoods. And you have to do that with an intent. Here's an illustration that kind of brings it home, right? So this is an intersection, anywhere USA, okay? Everybody has a hood with check cashing places, big, huge streets. You see back here, the plaza is set back. So what we want to do, utilizing zoning, is create environments that create density, right? To the young lady's point, we want to build up instead of out. We want to make sure that infrastructure is there, trees, decorative crosswalks, things of that nature. And then that starts to attract investment. And when you start to create environments like that, it's better for everyone, for businesses, for people who live there. And it makes it also much safer, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I think maybe we might be able to see why.
Quality of life.
My apologies. I think we might be able to see why
So
we
when you
kind
look
of.
at the image on the screen.
Sorry, I keep doing that. But we kind of might have been able to see why we really needed to see that video to really help us contextualize a little bit of what the question was that I asked earlier. To your point, Chris. So, Chris, I think I stole your thunder a little bit earlier. It wasn't my intention, but I just want to invite us to think a little bit about that question I asked earlier.
No, it goes exactly into what I was going to say anyway. Before John Hay reopened, we all sat on the board over there. And, you know, Chris from Universal Circle, the community director over there, we did a lot of the planning and everything touched bases right on there. So when you had asked about how do we improve or rebuild a community, I was going to use the analogy of the same thing you do when you want to improve your credit score or you want to clear out your credit. You know, we call it the snowball effect, when you pay off the smaller bill and then take what you was paying into the smaller bill and pay into the next bill till that get paid off, and you keep moving up with the payments getting bigger and bigger. So it's the same concept we have with the communities. You take your small businesses in that community, see what it is they need, advocate, understand the needs, and it goes right into, I was just going to discuss my 5-point plan that I always stress about, that the African community need. We need to put together a 5-point plan and move forward on it, set those as goals and capitalize on it. You know, talking without action is just, you know, it's just talking at the end of the day. So, plan, and you get that bill with those small businesses and continue to expand from there. And we go from what I was saying earlier with the hair salons and the barbershops and the car washes. If that's what we owning right now, how can we build from there and get into the Angie's soul food restaurants and get with Akeem and brothers like that and continue to build and build and build? See, it's not enough for Akeem to open up an Angie's restaurant and we all support it, but we also need to bring brothers like that into the forefront here to see what we can build upon next. You know, we don't just want to go out there and support their stores, We want to help them get to ownership of the food that's been brought to their stores. So our infrastructure need to be strong, I guess is where I'm going, even to the transportation of the food. And then we build on, we continue to build from there, from restaurants to appliance stores to grocery stores and on from there.
So you raise a great point. So I guess part of it is, well, I guess more generally speaking, were folks pretty familiar with zoning, and then, but was there something in that video that made you think about it differently? I was familiar with zoning, but when Director Collier articulated it in that way, it allowed me to see Hough differently. And I'm wondering if there are some other voices that are interested in sharing, how you may have been able to see Hough differently in lieu of that video we just watched. Does that question make sense? Yeah, any thoughts?
Vanessa, Dominique, don't hold back. I'm interested in hearing others' thoughts also. I'd like to take up all the air in the room.
So before the video, I wasn't really familiar with zoning, and I really didn't, have any type of knowledge about it or anything like that. I was definitely familiar with how the neighborhoods that we live in now are basically for us. Basically, they're only for us, and the neighborhoods they live in are for them. That's what and it's just. It's really like it's devastating to see how we are really put into a category because of the color of our skin, and how because of the color of our skin we can't get the same education as a person of fairer skin, or because we live in a certain area we have textbooks from 12 years ago in our schools, and how me and my cousin were just talking about this. It's crazy because in Cleveland high schools, they still have home economics. They still have shop classes. They still have essential classes that make sure that when those kids leave school, they know what they're supposed to do as a homeowner, as fixing up properties and things and such like that. But in the Black schools, our main focus is what? Basketball, rap, or the things that they say we're so good at, right? So my kids go to Wade Park. I say that to say this. My kids go to Wade Park. That's on 79th. That's a little bit around the corner. And their school is like, they're big on getting their children and getting the kids involved in the community. Like a few weeks ago, they had a bike ride with the kids and the parents and stuff to go around the city and clean up and all that other good stuff. And it's just like, if we do more of that and we have more of that in our schools and in our community, I feel like that's one of the steps that we need to take to get closer to our goal that we're trying to reach and building up our community.
Yeah, I hear that, and I feel like part of what we're saying is that as we think about our neighborhood, as we think about Hough, part of the question is there space for us to think about education institutions that are not just schools, but
right,
that are small, institutions for our youth to be able to go and gain some of these life skills. So part of what I'm hearing you say is that the schools are not doing it, but are there places that we can create on Black Avenue that will allow our young people to have access to the life skills that schools are no longer providing?
I think what we need to do is we need to help each other. We're not good at reaching back and pulling each other up. And a lot of different things need to happen with this redlining thing. One of the reasons why people don't listen to us also is because we need to have more home ownership. One of those maps showed 34% in Hough area own homes, whereas 84% in another area. People take home ownership seriously. It's I lived someplace. I lived in Glenville, and this house down two houses down, they tore that house up. When their mother hit the number, she got a house down at the other end of the street. You stepped on their grass, they would try to kill you. People take home ownership seriously. They take their own seriously. So we need to teach our children and our people to be a little more pride and have pride and to help each other. Just like she was saying, the children riding the bicycles around and helping in the neighborhood and everything. We have to have pride in ourselves, and we have to show other people we have pride in ourselves, and we have to be together as a community.
Thank you. So I know we started late, but I promised everyone that we would go from 5:30 until 7. And we have 7 minutes left, and we'll need to get back to the large group. But I guess my general question to you is, to everybody on the call, and if not, that's okay. But my question to all of you is, do we have a shared understanding of what redlining and what zoning are, and how redlining has undesigned our neighborhoods, but how zoning as a policy measure that we can own, how it can re-empower our neighborhoods? Do we have that shared understanding? Devon, how you feeling? You good?
Actually, I just learned a lot. It was very insightful.
Yeah. I was watching you, bro. That's why I asked you, because I saw you, like I could see you soaking it in. That's why I didn't mean to point you out like that, but I was like, my man right there I see you. I see you soaking it in. So I really appreciate you. And I appreciate you as well, Dominique, and everybody on the call. Thank you. What we're gonna do is we're gonna shift back. I'm sorry about the time, because we could go.
Yeah, I like this.
We're gonna go back, because remember, the main intent for today was really for us to get an overall framework of these concepts, so that we can continue to carry on, if you want to carry on with us. And what I want to signal is that this is different, because this is supported by the city of Cleveland, which is why Director Collier is here. This is supported by the city. And it's also a partnership of a lot of organizations working for a better health. And that's why you're here. This is different. This is different.
Hey, Daniel.
Yes, sir.
Can I chime in real quick? Because I just want to say a couple
You know
of
what,
things.
dear brother? Would you mind if what you have to say, could you say it to the whole group?
Sure, no problem.
Okay, so I'm going to shift us back to the large group, and I'm going to invite the other group to do the same. And Freddie, I'm going to pass the mic to you.
Sure,
Okay.
no problem. Thank you, guys.
Yes, indeed. Just one moment, everyone.
Hey, did you record it? Did you record this?
Yes, absolutely. So it'll be available to all of you if
right.
you want it. Absolutely. I'm going to close all the rooms. All right, and hopefully we are all here. Let me see if the other breakout room is done. And it looks like we're all back here.
Breakout room was fun.
All right.
It was tired.
So everyone, I'm going to step away because I have a hard stop today at 7. But I wanted to let you all know I will be in touch with you very soon so that I can see if you all are interested in continuing on this journey with us. The next step in our journey is to analyze our neighborhoods block by block so that we can get a deeper sense of what we want in each part of our neighborhood, what's missing, what is there, and let's analyze what is there, and let's also analyze what's missing. And this process is called form-based coding. That
I
is,
definitely want to be a part of that.
I'm going to pass the microphone to Freddie. And Freddie and Mary, I'm going to invite you all to close us out. And I'll have to head off. Freddie?
I'll be brief because I want to turn it back over to Mary. And one of the things that I want you guys to know and understand is that everything that you're experiencing now is learning, okay? And hopefully you go through life, and I'm continuing to learn. Always be a learner, okay? Because it's a lot to unpack, and it's a lot that we're dealing with at a systems level, right? And this is a time where we have to get down and dirty and understand these systems. It's very, the other thing that I wanted to share with the other group before we got back into the session that I'm not going to share with the whole group. And I want you guys to remember this. It's important to learn to speak the King's English. And let me explain what that means. When we go and we advocate and we sit at tables, you have to be able to have a conversation with your friend on the street, but you also need to be able to sit down with a CEO in a boardroom or an elected official or even a president and have a competent conversation. So part of our learning is really understanding the practicality of the language, but also understanding how the language is used at a systemic level. Because often what happens that puts us in a situation where we're victimized or things happen around us and we look up and say, well, what happened to our neighborhood? What happened to our community? It's because there's many of us who may not understand what's being done. And part of what we're unpacking in this process is breaking down for you what has been done. That was the significance of the red line discussion. And part of dealing with how you can address these things is starting to share with you what some of the solutions are and understanding it in the language that the establishment speaks. That's very important because that's often how communities get left out of things. So we need to be able to speak it on the street to whomever, but we also need to be able to sit down at the tables of authority and power and let them understand that we know exactly how this works. We know exactly how these decisions are made. So this is what's so important about learning and about making sure that we can speak it on every level and taking the time to do that.
Yes, hallelujah.
I just wanted to say that to you guys because it's very important. We often go to meetings and we have these organizations say, oh, well, the community doesn't understand that and you need to dumb it down and say it this way. No, I believe in people and people are intelligent. And I think that at the end of the day, when you approach them as if they're intelligent, you'd be surprised how they rise to the occasion. And I would like to say too that I've enjoyed working and communicating with many of you, particularly the youth, more so than I do my contemporaries, to be quite honest with you. because with you is a level of authenticity and purity that is often tainted when you have to work with people in the establishment and in the system. So it's important, you know, for you to understand these things. So as you get into school and become part of the workforce, you're coming into this with the truth built into your DNA. Because we've been lied to on a number of fronts for many years. And I think it's important at your age that you understand these things fundamentally so that you can identify when things are not being done the right way, and you can start to address them in a way that makes the establishment hear and respect and honor your position. So I just wanted to share that with you, and I'm always delighted to be here. I hope that that video worked out in the other room, because I know in the one breakout room, it didn't go perfectly, but you should go back and take a look at it. And we made those presentations and everything available to you guys to re-examine and look at. But really excited to be a part of this, and I'm really thrilled to see so many young faces have interest in this subject matter. So thank you. I'm gonna turn it over to Mary. I'm sorry, Mary, I was a little long-winded.
No, that's all right. Thank you. So we're gonna wrap things up with something that we call much loves. And much loves, very similar to the mindful minute or community candle, is a tradition that we have where we just take a moment to acknowledge somebody or several people or everyone in the space. Because just like how we don't have enough moments to center ourselves, we also don't have enough moments to acknowledge somebody or acknowledge ourselves. So the way that much loves works is it could be as simple as saying much love to somebody just because of their fit, like they might look fire today. Or it could be a much love to something someone said, or much love to the entire community, anything that you want it to be. So you all can drop your much loves in the chat, or you can say them out loud. I'll give you that opportunity to do that now.
I just want to say I love Black people. Y'all are all awesome. And let's continue to grow and build our community back up and to be better than what they're making us to be.
I'm reading the chat real quick. Jasmine's iPhone said, much love. I think Naima Carol. She said, much love to our breakout room. Freddie Collier, much love to 12 Literary Arts. Woo-hoo. Jalen, much love to everyone for the deep convos we had. Miss Tiffany Wright, much love to everyone. I hope everyone listened and took notes, and that will make the community better. From Mr. Tay Hardy, Mr. Tay Hardy, much love to everyone. From Vanessa Renee, much love to everyone who went out and voted in the last election. Woo woo. Oh, no more Trump. Much love to from Miss Cole Robinson. Much love to everyone in this chat and those that put this together. From Devon Cobbs, much love for the chances to learn. From Miss Lisa Scott, much love to everyone. From Miss Principal Standards, much love to Freddie Collier. Thank you. This was great, and I'm happy to hear the growth that will take place in the neighborhood. From Miss Tara Jordan, much love to pancakes in the community. Okay, I love pancakes. Much love to have conversation with you guys. From Blair, much love to everyone who participated and supported our community. From Chris Sanders, much love to the organizers of the Zoom meeting. And also from Principal Sanders, much love to the youth. It's refreshing to see youth getting involved. Yeah, I think the youngest person on this call is 13. And she also had a lot to say. So yeah, that was just a beautiful thing to see everyone up in here. Much love for me, much love to all of you. It is always great to see so many faces, and mostly new faces in the call and learning this content. I really appreciate that from the bottom of my heart. From Tiana, much love
to all y'all, and much love to the conversations.
And much love to Freddie. Just much love to everybody. Like, really appreciate y'all. And yeah, much love to all of y'all.
And yeah, thank you, Keith, for reading out everything on the chat. And thank you all for coming here today and sharing your ideas. Like, this was beautiful. And I really hope to see more of everyone here. So you all can drop off whenever you want. Yeah, but this concludes the second community meeting.
Word. And I'm pretty sure Mr. Daniel Gray Contar will be in contact with all of you for more information. So from 12 Youth Advisory Board and everyone involved, thank you very much. Much love to all of y'all.
Much love.